Aloha, and welcome to our conference call and transition to our new Welcoming the New Season podcast. So aloha, welcome. For folks that have been with us a while and involved with our conference calls, we're kind of transitioning that conference call process to a new podcast-oriented approach to sharing the message and work that we do around Stillpoint. So we have a whole new kind of platform that we're about to launch around the Stillpoint work and social media for Stillpoint Tribe for folks that are using the Stillpoint process and products. And the Stillpoint Tribe will also be hosting the Welcoming the New Season, what was the conference call, now as a podcast format. In addition, we're going to be doing regular, daily, weekly, more often trainings that fit into the whole Stillpoint yogic approach shared with the whole network, Stillpoint Tribe, and around protocols for handling the shift in the new season, protocols for our laser products and other subtle yogic products. So on that note, welcome and aloha again for folks that have been with us a while, and also for new folks. We start, as I always do, with all the seminars, retreats we've been doing for years. Everyone go ahead, take a nice breath in, and stop right at the top of the breath. Hold for a moment. Feels like holding the breath. Don't hold the breath. Let the breath keep going like it does when you rest. Breath is very good at doing what it does. Yet you stay here in space between the breaths. Yeah, right there until it kind of lands. And when it does, you kind of rest. You abide in this space. Yogis, mystics call it the space between the breath. In India, they call it the breathless state. The breathless state. In cranial work, they call it Stillpoint. And the key to this state is arriving into a condition where one's attention is no longer outward. So we'll come back to this throughout the course of this podcast and also throughout the course of a lot of our trainings and our approach to technology, our seminars, retreats. They all center around first cultivating this state. This state is the starting point. And so you'll hear me often come back and say, all right, everyone, take a breath in and just stop right at the top, hold. For those of us that have been doing it for a while, for me, I don't use the breath. It's not a breath process. It's like shifting your car, right? It's like shifting. The more you do it, for me, it's just more like I just drop in. And I can't say how, to me, important this is right now on planet, right now. So for the first thing I want to touch on here is I often do different updates to what's happening as we progress in the new season. And since we're launching this as a new podcast and not a conference call that we do that goes to people that are already familiar with our approach and the reference that we have. Most of the trainings you'll find that I do for folks that have been with us for a while, and for new folks also, are centered around, often I first kind of lay a reference. And in that reference, that just sets up a general reference of the experience that the experience that I'm kind of having as to what's happening. And then from that reference, I then kind of cover a training or an approach that I'm using to deal with that reference. And then usually we jump in and do the actual process so that it becomes real. And then often maybe we'll just touch in a little bit to recap. But that's generally the approach that I take in terms of sharing the different things that our life and the whole kind of journey that we've been on with developing different products. First we started with seminars and retreats, and then we developed some different products along the way. And all of them, everything that we share is they're things that we use in our experience to address the challenges that we're bumping into. And we try different things, and those things either work. If they don't work, we don't share them. And if they do work, we share them. Everyone, again, take a nice breath in, right here, top of the breath. Hold. So I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a reference of how I'm experiencing what's happening on planet Earth right now. And by the way, as I always say and have for years, don't believe whatever I say. I never believe. People tell me lots of things, and I don't really believe anything. I don't not believe. I hear things, yet they don't have any substantive value to me unless I experience it. And so as I only convey and share things that in the approach of how I experience them. And so don't believe what I'm saying. The reference isn't designed to be a reference that lasts, right? The reference is only a reference to give a direction to apply something with the hope that it improves one's reality. So the reference is only valuable if it helps to shift the physics of the situation that isn't a nice situation, or improves the situation. I can't say this enough. Often the references that I have shared, they get modified. They're not static things. And this is so key to what's happening on the planet right now. I'm glad this kind of arrived here. Since, my background for folks that are new, my background is in yogi things, right? I left when I was done with college. I went to India, and I hung around yogis and mystics. And really, the root of the experience that I'm having and that I share in the work that we do, in the Stillpoint work, in the yogic work that we do, in the products we make, all centers around the yogic mystic experience. That to me is to me the key thing that attracts me to this experience on this planet, is the opportunity to experience a state of being and consciousness that's full and that it's beyond the fixational condition situation that's been going on here on this planet in the last ages. I don't mean to say anything against those situations, yet from my perspective, when I arrived on this planet, I was blessed to be around certain yogis and different folks, and that dissolution to a state of being. So to the yogis, the condition. This is so key. Everyone take another breath in and stop right at the top. So yogis often refer to, just to recap for new folks, the view that I have and that I share with folks is that our planet is moving around the sun. Our sun is moving around the galaxy, and the galaxy is moving around the universe. And as we do, many different ancient peoples and mystics and shamans and healers and yogis, they all say the same thing. Religions, they all say that there are these seasons that happen. And when the seasons shift, the physics shift. I don't want to get too into this. People can go to some of our YouTube station, our YouTube channel, and other online areas that we have set up for, and where we cover this process of how the different shift of the ages happens, and how, just in a similar way to in winter, it shifts and then it gets warmer, and people then adjust to that different situation. In the same way as we leave the age that we've been in, which we are in the process of doing, and arrive into a different age, which is based on our planet's transit around the sun, right? It goes, when it's far away, it experiences one-dimensional state of physics. When it gets closer, it shifts to a different. And our stars moving around the different quadrants of the galaxy, which has different physics of how the state of energy flows through different star systems. And so each of these different situations sets up a different, kind of like a microscope. When you're looking at a microscope, you see one thing. If you flip the lens, it's the same thing in the microscope, yet the lens, the whole physics are like, whoa, it's totally different, yet it's the same thing. Well, from my perspective, we are in the midst of a lens shift astrologically, which is shifting the physics on the planet significantly. And I do these updates to kind of go through kind of what's happening as we are progressing. Right now, it's kind of a dynamic moment. The Mayan folks, there's different folks that understand this shift of the ages and describe it in different ways. And the Mayans have an interesting approach to it. They understand it not only from the larger cycles, 23,000 year, much larger galactic cosmic cycles. They also understand the smaller, down to the 20-year cycles. They have a reference of these microcycles that compose the larger flow, and so from and even smaller microcycles within that. So from my perspective, right now we're at kind of an interesting moment from this zone we've been in, and some strong astrological things happening that are kind of conditioning some new opportunities. Everyone, again, take a nice breath in. Stop right at the top. And reset. Good. And so the most important thing I can say, again, is even whatever I'm saying, it's not the only way that I vet out what's happening is dropping into Stillpoint. So whatever I'm conveying, I dissolve that also. That's not substantively relevant. Only in so much as it lays a reference that then helps. So right now, there's ultra complexity going on. And I'm laying this reference simply as a tool to then say, oh, all right, well, so now I'm going to kind of go through things that I'm doing right now to adjust to this. So the micro trend zone that we've been in has been kind of interesting in that there's a very excessive acceleration that's going on vibrationally. On an energy, there's a massive acceleration that's happening, and that takes profound skill to navigate. And even then, you get knocked around. For me, I like to, as everyone who's been to our retreats and seminars, I like to abide and rest in Stillpoint in a subtle, nice state. And in my experience, I'm having to, and again, I tell people, right now on planet Earth, if you're here, this is the moment to get into practice. To me, everything is practice. And so I get knocked around and I say, all right, I got to start trying different things, cultivate my attention. To me, it's all about cultivating one's attention and condition. And that's really what our whole reference of the Stillpoint tribe and the Stillpoint yogic work is a ongoing practice of cultivating one's attention into a subtle state of being in an effort to assist in helping to manifest and express a new age, a new season here on planet Earth. Notice right there, I kind of just dropped into still point. I didn't have to say, or take a breath in. Notice, you can tell when you drop into still point, right? If you're new, the way you can tell is notice when you're in still point. Try if you try holding on to you can't hold on to anything in your brain or emotion, even injury. And when you're neutral, one's condition, breath is doing its own thing. We're simply resting and abiding in a state of neutrality. Good work. So again, this is how I kind of assess and vet out what's real and true. I can't say this enough. That word is it's a fascinating word. The word true. In India, in the traditions that I am associated, and the yogis and mystics, the word true, it doesn't have the exact same meaning as it does here. In the West, the people view true as what's right versus what's wrong, like what's accurate, or and what's not. And that's an interesting way of looking at it, though. From the yogi mystic way, it's not at all accurate. At least it's not how I understand it. So the word true in the East, sat, the word true, is defined as that which lasts. That which lasts. So that which is stable, ongoing. And to me, this is so key. So, as I've often said, right now on the planet, so many different traditions refer to the shift of the ages, and they all say a similar thing, that at the end of each age, there's a flood. If you study comparative religion, which I did a bit when I was younger, there's a reference to this flood. In every tradition, every religion, every system has this view of the flood. Well, in India, again, a lot of my background and approach come from the years I was doing meditation and orienting around a certain approach, and that Eastern view says the word, it doesn't translate to flood. The word is, at the end of each age, there's what's called a pralaya. And a pralaya translates as a dissolution. So at the end of each age, you have the flow form of the age, right? So the age has a flow form. In other words, in each age, energy comes out comes out from its origin, from its source or its origin, and it flows into manifestation in the creative process. And that flow, depending on the lens that it flows through, it expresses, it orients in a certain way. And my view is that the last age that we're leaving had a linear fixation. So energy came down, it diffracted at a certain place, and there's different kind of views about that, which I don't want to get into right here. And that diffraction then set up, a way that was the prevailing way for things to orient here on planet Earth. And the way I see it is that diffraction set things up in a linear, kind of like white light. White light, the source, the energy, comes through a prism. It diffracts through the prism, and you have a line, a linear, line. You have red through purple, the linear color spectrum. The outer color spectrum that people see is the linear diffraction of that white light. In a similar way, the experience of being came in the last age and diffracted, and that diffraction set up a linear diffraction, which had it diffracted into the linear diffraction was the psyche, the emotion, and the body. The ego personality is the linear, from my perspective, is the linear diffraction. So in the last age, when I came to planet Earth, to me, it's a nice planet. I like it. It's a lovely planet. Yet the experience of identifying, so here on planet Earth, what happens to a lot of people, according to yogis and mystics, is that they set up their reality along a line, right? The past is back there, the future's there, and people orient their attention, their experience on that line. So they're going through life. They go to school. They go get some kind of job or thing to do. Then they go to retire. Then they go. So the process is along this line, and so at any given moment, their attention is diffracted into the body personality on that line, moving from past to present to future. The problem with that for me when I came to planet Earth is the rest of the energy, the totality of energy, just like the white light diffracts. It doesn't have white light on the other side where the linear is. It has the individual colors, which is nice. If you're one of those colors, that can be a nice experience. Yet if your association is oriented towards the white light, you're kind of like, hey, I like the white light. For me, when I came to planet Earth, that was the condition how I experienced it. It was like, this is nice, yet the personality only works on planet Earth. It's great for navigating, from one place to the other, going on a trip, going to, work to get to college or work to get a house or to do this. That's a nice kind of faculty for vehicle for doing things on planet Earth. Yet if you're attracted and drawn to the cosmos and beyond, it's completely not able to assist in that. It's not designed for that. It's a collection of impressions that people orient around from their experience. Everyone take a nice breath in, reset back into neutral, and simply rest and abide here. So again, whatever I'm conveying, take it for what it is, simply a reference. Might be accurate, might not be accurate, doesn't matter. For me, it's accurate in that the reference helps me to orient my attention in a way that I find attractive. It helps me to stay in a state of bliss and in a state of kind of a fullness of being and beingness, a state of being, which to me is where everything is. Everything else is physical, emotional, psychic. All those things, they're not. To me, they're not attractive. They don't last. They don't. One moment it's one thing. The body is going through one thing, then it's going through another. The emotions are here, then it's here, then it's here. The things in the brain that are happening. One moment it's this consideration, then it's this. They're moving from one thing to the other. They don't have the condition of sat, of that which lasts. And so, again, I don't place I'm not trying to, those things, everybody who came in the last age, from my perspective, came in through that diffraction, and so they're working through that. And yet, from my perspective, we are on the cusp of a new flow form. Pralaya means the old diffraction lens dissolves, and a flood occurs. Not a flood of water, a flood of energy, nonlinear energy, flows through to dissolve, and in some situations to accelerate, which I'll get to in a moment. It dissolves those different dimensions, those different states, the psychic, what yogis, mystics call the causal or the psychic, the astral, the emotional, the physical, and then the different dimensions that make up those different levels or planes, or however you want to refer to them. And so from my perspective, there's a dissolution happening, and in that process, old structures, old things that were organized around those different areas are dissolving. New energy is coming in. People that are welcoming that dissolution, from my perspective, have an easier go of it than people that are not welcoming that dissolution. Hence, welcoming the new season. From my perspective, if people are comfortable, in other words, it's not a good moment to be on planet Earth. From my perspective, if people resist or are not comfortable dissolving things, which is why for years, if you go and look at our videos on YouTube, our trainings and retreats and seminars and our longer retreats and everything is aimed at helping to dissolve. Stillpoint is a technology. Everyone take a nice breath in. Stop at the top. Hold here for a moment. Let the breath keep going, yet you stay here in space between the breath. Stillpoint is a technology. It's a yogic technology designed to dissolve things, whether it's a physical thing, cell memory, an injury, an emotional thing, some issue or thing you've been dealing with that's been going on, that keeps going on. This is a process to consciously welcome and dissolve that thing. A psychic thing, maybe some pattern or program you've been running from the previous age around how you interact with your own experience or with other people or with money or whatever it is, whatever pattern or program. If you have it, then I always say it's like a computer. If you have a computer and you don't understand how to close things, it's not a good situation. If you can open it, you have to understand how to close it. If it gets whatever, you have to understand how to Control Alt Delete or whatever it is to reset it. If you don't understand those things, well, you have to. Same thing with the human condition. If you have the body, and you have to understand how, if you have any kind of thing that's happening that's recurring from a previous linear, right? If it's occurring again from a previous situation, it's a linear trajectory. Karma, to me, all karma is a linear, something that's occurring in a linear diffraction. In other words, if you have a wave and the wave is moving from past to present to future, the previous moment of that wave is determining, the inertia of that wave defines the next moment. If it's going up, if it's going down, if that wave's going up and down and moving across a body of water, the previous moment, inertia, defines the next moment. Well, anything you bring with you from your previous moment, physical, cell memory, emotion, belief, judgment, program, whatever it is, if you're bringing it to your next moment, you've just defined your next moment. The inertia is the karma. And again, how do we dissolve that? Again, just simply drop in to Stillpoint. So, again, to kind of recap, from my perspective, we are on the cusp of a major shift, and central to that shift is a dissolution of the things from the previous age that are no longer appropriate. They're no longer age appropriate for the new. The last age, people here identified their reality as separate from the rest of the universe and cosmos. Personality was a structure for planet Earth. The new season orientation, from my perspective, is based on understanding and experience in who one is in the cosmos as a being, not fixated in the ego personality diffraction and orienting one's day-to-day experience around physical, emotional, and psychic things. So that's the reference that, for me, that it makes sense that I'm using. And so right now, in this micro moment, and in addition to that, there's a dissolution happening. And that dissolution is a flow of new, non-linear, non-fixated energy. As it comes in, it's accelerating things. So that collectively, there's an acceleration going on. Now, from my perspective, there is some complexity right now in the area that we're in right now, and it's in part, in other words, acceleration on its own, to me, is somewhat of a natural process, and so to me, there are some other variables happening right now that are complexifying the acceleration that is happening on the planet. And so I want to touch on this briefly. Yet to me it's important in that, right now there's been kind of there are certain things in as far as technology goes that are happening on the planet that have some benefits, but they also have not benefits. And without getting into too much around it, right now, one of the things that is happening, we happen to be traveling right now, and there's a huge amount of signal that's getting bombarded, particularly in cities, though everywhere, with Wi-Fi signals overlapping everywhere that are stronger and stronger, cell phone signals, 5G. There's so much signal happening that it naturally has an accelerating kind of variable. And that's part of the larger picture of what's happening. And it's also, from my perspective, the purpose of me bringing this up is not to delve into a large kind of reference about it. It's simply to lay a reference that right now it's super important for people to understand that there's massive acceleration happening. And that acceleration is, on the one hand, it's people that don't have tools to assist in that stewarding that acceleration. From my perspective, the key right now is everyone take breath in, stop right at the top. The key right now is having the capacity to steward acceleration. I can't say this enough. We're going to be doing some regular, in the Stillpoint Tribe kind of family of podcasts. We'll have the Welcoming the New Season podcasts. We'll have some of our scalar healing laser protocols podcasts where we cover protocols for using our laser products, the scalar wave laser. It's a medical device laser that's designed to unwind things and dissolve things into still point, injuries, different kinds of challenges. So we'll have some podcasts that center around protocols for using our lasers. We're also going to have some podcasts around our scalar yoga, our yogic process, and the new products we have, the scalar pad, which you can lay on kind of like a large yoga pad that is designed to activate scalar energies along the spine, and some other technologies, the Wi-Fi, the scalar plates, things that we have that are all designed to assist, along with the most important technology, which is Stillpoint, and our scalar yogic process. And so by whether you use these technologies that I'm referencing, these are simply what we use to navigate this acceleration. The challenge right now that I see happening a lot around me is that people are so inundated with the acceleration. So what happens when things get accelerated is it accelerates and then it blows out whatever's not neutral. So any kind of fixation, it's why for years, if you ever go around yogis and mystics, when you go visit genuine yogis, mystics, folks that have, through their practice and meditation, cultivated a different state of being. They've dissolved certain, they've dissolved into a state of being that when you go around them, it naturally, that stable energy, it literally pops fixations. So they say it's like burning karma, right? You go around them and things start to cook, and when they cook, they come out. So the acceleration is, so people that have been to our retreats, when we do retreats, we often say that after first day, lots of stuff comes up for people. Since we're dedicating the retreat to opening up into neutral energy, and we're saying, inviting that neutral energy to come in and to assist us to bring up and help purify linear fixations, physical, emotional, psychic, so that we can, as we clear those fixations, we can start to rest and abide in a nonlinear, neutral state of being. To me, that's everything, right? That's everything I do is orients around that. Whether I'm at a retreat, whether I'm going through my everyday situation, every day I am looking for, how do I dissolve, how do I rest and abide in this state of being? And so the acceleration of late on this planet is getting so heightened that it's making it that things are coming up both for individually for people, but collectively. There's so much coming up in so many different areas that we have to make sure that we are, I liken it to, it's why I call this, I've been lately referring to this as a tribe. I'm always, whether we were in Maui until yesterday. We just got back to the mainland, and we were with our kind of tribe there and our friends there. And for me, I'm always, Stillpoint is the kind of central reference for me. And so I'm often discussing different Stillpoint and things around Stillpoint. And so as we progress, I often refer to this as a boat, right? We're literally all traveling. This planet's like a boat, right? We're moving literally in our star system, and our star system is moving in the galaxy, and the galaxy is moving in the universe. And great mystics and saints say that the universe is moving in a much larger ocean. And so, that's what this work is about. It's about sharing tools and different the approach that we're using to help navigate the transit. And for right now, the moment we're on as we're progressing is dynamic. This is a tough moment all around the planet, around this country. And so the thing I want to convey that's to me, and I'm going to cover this more in our Scalar Yoga. Yoga is the word in India that it's different than yoga. Yoga is more the verb. Yoga is literally like to dissolve things and to cultivate one's attention. And so everyone take a nice breath in. Stop right at the top. Good, just hold there. So everybody try one other thing. This is kind of key. I'm going to get into a little bit of yogic work. So everybody, as you're resting here in Stillpoint, these are some basic tools that to me are kind of essential for just envision as you're resting here in Stillpoint, right? You take a breath in, stop right at the top, hold for a moment. Envision one of those laser sabers from the movie and just go around the outside of your field. The field goes out 5-10 feet for most people. It can go out further. And just envision this laser saber like the kinds from the movies. And just go around the outside of the field and clear any blockages, any holes, any cords. I always tell people, central to this work is keeping your attention in a neutral orientation. So there's two key things from my perspective that can help navigating acceleration, right? When acceleration is going, the key thing is to be able to unwind things. If you can unwind things as things are accelerating, you're inviting them to dissolve before the acceleration brings them and pops them open. From my perspective, if acceleration kind of gets into people's experiences and then starts, a lot of people, in other words, let me put it like this, a lot of people right now on the planet who are kind of continuing to propagate old season, what I consider to be fixation, linear kind of energy from the old season, they're also comfortable to open up into what seems like an open kind of place. Yet from my perspective, it's not open in the same way that Stillpoint is open and neutral. Right? In other words, there's a lot of, how do I say this? There's a way, as things accelerate, there's a way for things to pop open into chaos. It's a state of energy that's not as fixated. Well, it kind of is. It's open, though it's oriented around chaos. There's not a coherent, stable condition to it. And so from my perspective, it's super important to understand the nature of the acceleration. The acceleration's happening, and either it's going to kind of accelerate, cook things inside people, that are patterns or karma or whatever, and pop it open, or to wherever it's at, or someone is going to use their attention to safeguard and steward that process of acceleration and opening, and to bring it to what I refer to, what yogis refer to as a state, a condition that is, and this gets back to the word sat, the word true, right? I am drawn to states of energy in the universe and beyond that are lasting, right? That are stable. And so, again, the way that I vet what's real and true for me is by welcoming it, dissolving, and seeing what that condition is in my experience. I can't say this enough. Yogis view there's outer phenomena, and then there's the intrinsic state of being. So yogis say outer phenomena are all the things on the outside that you're looking at, right? And so there's all this stuff going on in the outer situation. We're all looking at that outer stuff. Now, normally, in the previous age and in other situations, normally there's a consensus among the inhabitants here, and they agree that this is what's going on. And so you have this consensus happening where people are like, oh, that's a tree, and everyone agrees that's a tree. And then you have, and so right now there's a kind of this acceleration that's happening on the planet. There's lots of different views about what's happening in the outer phenomena now. So this is not an effort to, or anything to discuss or have any reference about the things that are happening in the outer phenomena. This technology, this approach, is the approach that we use to navigate what's real and true for us. That's ultimately, Stillpoint is how to arrive in a condition of neutrality, and we cover in our videos and what we call Stillpoint response. And I can't say this enough, to using Stillpoint to vet out what energies you want to be associated to me, is, I can't even tell you how valuable Stillpoint is to me simply on that front. People are asking me often, oh, what's my view on this? What's my view on this? And I don't have a whole lot to say about my views on anything, except that one has to have a capacity to orchestrate, not only vet out. Vetting out's great just on the superficial. If you're just a body and ego, personality moving through planet Earth. If you want, in other words, whatever energy you open up to, that's the plane, that's the level you're going to be associated to. So be very clear what things that you, and I'll say another thing, anything, yogis, traditionally, mystics, always say the general reference is drop the story. Anyone who's coming to me right now with a story and wanting me to opt into the story in any direction, I'm not interested. Story is on a psychic level. Anything that's coming to me with a reference that's coming from the past, that's a fixational reference. So it doesn't matter how much they say it's accurate or how true it is or whatever. From my definition of truth, true to me is lasting, and nothing on the psychic plane that I've seen lasts. It's transitory by nature, which is why nobody's ever been satisfied here. And there's no religion that said, yes, this personality is the best way to go. Every religion says that there's something beyond that. Often it's referred to, the word love is used, or grace, or there's words that are used, that peace and wonder, but they're only words to describe. The yogis I hung around with, they often say that they call it the indescribable plane, the indescribable place. It's not words. Love can say a little bit about it, but it's truly indescribable. So everyone, again, I know to just check in, like I'm in Stillpoint. Make sure to check in. If you're not, take a breath. Otherwise, simply rest here in Stillpoint. And so super important right now to understand. You have outer phenomena. Yogis say that the body, the emotions, and the psychic level are all outer. To the yogi, those are outer. They might be, what's going on, what seems to be inside someone, yet to the yogi, they're outer from the intrinsic state of being. In other words, from the state of being is associated to the plane that is beyond fixation, like the white light, beyond the prism, beyond the fixation, the diffraction and the fixation is a plane, is a state of energy and being, which is associated to a more lasting state. And the key to that, it's interesting, there's another reference to true, where, often people that do pendulum work, or they do where they survey and map out roads, they say when a pendulum or a plumb line is true, the old builders, and when the plumb line, they call it true. And what does that mean when it's true? It means it's without polarity. It's not moving. There's no polarity back and forth. It's true. It's neutral. Neutral is another reference of true, which is, of course, why I adore Stillpoint. What is Stillpoint? Stillpoint, breath, positive, negative, in, out, Stillpoint. It's neutral. Cranial rhythm, in, out, cranial, in, out. When you unwind the cranial rhythm, it dissolves, it drops into Stillpoint. Yogis say there are waves that are happening in most people, oscillations from physical, from emotional, from psychic. Those are like layers, and when one begins to get into the space between the breath and the breathless state, and we start to tap in to that plane beyond those layers, which brings energy in to dissolve those oscillations and fixations, and begins to open up a new condition. From my perspective, this is the quest of the awakening process, and it's also of a human, and it's also the quest of our planet right now as it goes through this transition into the new season. So on that note, we're in a nice state. Usually when we do this kind of work, You can tell when the work has come to a nice place, when it's complete, and to me, we're here. We've arrived in this state. So I want to thank each of you for taking a moment out of your busy lives, and I want to suggest that you take more moments out of your busy lives to cultivate this. You're all experts at this now. So when we get off, in my life, every 10, 15 minutes, I drop in Stillpoint, I take a moment. If you're busy, take a moment every so often, drop in Stillpoint. When in your house, have an area where you can sit. Every day there's a certain area I go. When I get to a hotel, like we did late last night, there's an area, there's a chair, I went there, I sat down, I cleared my field. It's very hard to hold Stillpoint if there's tons of people threading up to your energy. So you clear, you drop in Stillpoint. If you have some of our products, you use laser, use some of our products. If you don't, envision the laser saber, cut any cords, any blockages, any holes. We're going to do more. We have lots of videos about this work, and we're going to be doing more. So you clear, and you rest it, you drop in Stillpoint. The more you practice this, the more it'll become a natural thing that happens in your life. When some stress happens, when some other thing happens, it'll kind of tug at you, and it'll kind of thread you up and just kind of bring you back here. And to me, the acceleration that's going on can be very nicely stewarded when one is using one's attention to cultivate Stillpoint and to welcome the issues. We're going to get into more. Stay tuned. Sign up for our podcast. Go to our YouTube channel. Sign up for our newsletter. Reach out if you have questions about our products. We can our whole process approach and the technologies we develop are designed to assist for this transition that's happening on the planet, and for cultivating one's condition and attention into a neutral state of being. So on that note, aloha and blessings. Aloha.